Good morning, tribe. Hope you are having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. And you can see, unusually, I have the curtain up behind me because it's dark and snowy and I need the extra light. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see me at all because it's really dark. So if you can see and hear me, please do leave a comment. Let me know that that we actually are live. That would be awesome. Hey, Marie, good to see you here. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm doing this on the StreamYard platform, and I'm doing it a little bit differently than I usually do. So bear with me if I don't get this completely right. And I do have some notes which are over to the right-hand side of the screen, and I know there's reflection from my glasses, and I can't help any of that stuff today. So I am back to water now because I've been up for a really long time. I've had several cups of coffee. Drop a comment with what you're having this morning. And, of course, feel free to chat amongst yourselves. I'll come back and check comments periodically. You can pop questions in. If you've got questions, start it with a Q. I don't know what that symbol was. That was an okay. Start it with a Q so I know, that you got a question there. So the snow is the big news of the day. This is the first time I've ever camped in snow. Not what I was ever planning to do, but it is kind of what I have to deal with. Hey, Doodlebug, good to see you here. Thank you so much. Leave us a comment with where you're watching from. That'd be cool. So the whole snow thing. I mean, this is all part of my Yellowstone camp hosting experience, and today is my last full day off. So yesterday, I had to leave my campsite and drive over to the day use area so that I could run my generator. This is a no generator campsite, and even though the day use area is basically a block and a half away from where I'm parked, it's technically outside of the campground, so I can go there and park there and be able to run my generator. And I ended up running my generator for about 4 hours yesterday, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to do that again tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I'm using a lot of power. Marie's got her 1 cup of coffee. Yeah, in the wintertime, I tend to do 2. In the summertime, I typically only do 1. So the whole camp hosting has been pretty interesting overall. I'm really, really glad that I've done it. And I've learned lessons. One is, I don't want to be camp hosting in this kind of weather. And as much as I've enjoyed the people and the, both the campers and the staff and the rangers and everybody else has been great. And the work has been easy enough, because no bathrooms. I don't want to clean somebody else's bathroom. I have enough difficulty cleaning my own. Well, not difficulty, but, it's not my favorite thing to do. And so the whole camp host thing itself has been great. And if you've been watching the camp host series, then you've probably learned that what I've learned is I don't want to live in a deep, dark forest. I hadn't even thought about the fact, I knew that I had seasonal affective disorder. I first discovered it in the 80s when I lived in northern New Jersey in a setting that was very much like this, where I had a whole bunch of tall trees that completely surrounded my house, and I was depressed. Hope this is going to come back. Oh, there we go. I don't know. Starlink's been acting up a little bit. The whole thing's a little bit wonky. Hopefully we're all good. Girl on the Go says, watching from the farm in PA, babysitting 8 4-week-old Whippets, one who will be my new co-pilot. Awesome sauce. I like Whippets. They're very cool dogs. I used to have a Rhodesian Ridgeback, which is, in some ways kind of like a Whippet on steroids, sort of, not exactly. That I could plug in and use that really helped a lot with the whole seasonal affective disorder thing. And yeah, as I said, subsequently, I really haven't had an issue because all the places that I've lived have been wide open spaces, plenty of sunshine, not a big deal. And certainly that's how I prefer to live my RV life. So this has been an experience. I got 4 more days of work to go. And then I'm out of here on the 10th and I'm heading south. So I'm pretty excited about that. That should be all kinds of fun. But the daily rhythm itself as the camp host has been pretty cool. We have had a few unique experiences. Probably, I guess one of the things that happens most often is all of the campground loops. There's 4 different loops altogether, 3 that are RV and tent and 1 that's tent only. And all of the loops are, except the tent loop, are one way. But I can't tell you how many times I see people going the wrong way. And one person, because I was out in the cart and I stopped them and I said, hey, these are all one-way loops. And you're going in the wrong way. So I'm only going one way. All right. They will have the last 4 days that the campground is open after I leave here on the 10th. And none of us are loving the weather and the battery situations that we're dealing with. Their batteries are dying like every day, and their only way to recharge when there isn't enough solar is to drive. That's their only option. My options are, recharge with solar, recharge with the generator, which means I have to drive out of the campground. So it is what it is. We've had a lot of people that were looking for walk-in sites, and since the government is shut down, no walk-ins. We can't accept any walk-ins because there's no mechanism for fee collection at all. Now, before the shutdown, if I would cite a walk-in in the evening, I had to make them promise to come back and pay the ranger in the morning. And truthfully, sometimes they got a free day or a free night because one of the challenges for the ranger station here, which is where I check people in the evening, one of the challenges is that the ranger station runs on propane. Now they do have a backup generator and they can run their backup generator in the morning, but typically what they do is they run it until they get enough battery power to be able to, run the internet and their computer and so forth. But if they've got to run the generator in the morning, which has been happening quite a bit because it's been so overcast, then they can't get enough power to be able to run the payment system. So when people come in to pay before they leave, they get a free night. Pretty cool that way. So my biggest concern right now is propane. It's cold. It's 32 degrees, and I think the high today is going to be 40 if we get lucky, and I don't expect to see that. And so the site is supposed to include propane for me to use. And I didn't think about it in terms of snow when I made my decision. But basically, here's the way it works. The NPS provides a propane tank to me for me to be able to use, but I have to be able to make the connection between their propane tank and my RV. And in order to do that, you need a thing that's called an extend-a-stay. It's basically a four-way T that allows you to run a hose from your propane regulator to their tank. And ultimately, because I didn't know that ahead of time, I did the math and I figured it out. And just buying to be able to source the parts locally, 2.5 hours away in Cody, was going to be $170. And if I wanted to have somebody install it for me, that was going to be about another $150. Well, then it started to get pretty pricey. And so I just decided it made more sense to me, since I was going to be out exploring the park anyway, to just go get propane each time I was out exploring on my days off, which is what I've been doing. I got propane on today's Sunday, on Thursday, and I'm a little bit concerned as to whether or not I'm going to make it all the way through until I leave without running out of propane. We'll see how that goes. But the thing that's interesting about the entire propane situation for me is that it ties in with the three personas. I haven't talked about them a whole lot, but they're in my intro video on the YouTube channel. So we got three different personas that are always at play. And in this case, Tinker Tom went through the effort to figure out how to be able to make the connections. But Practical Patty ran the numbers and decided that it was actually going to be a whole lot cheaper to just buy propane. I've spent about $60 on propane since I've been here, but that's still a whole lot cheaper than it would have been to source the parts and pay to have it installed while I was here. Now, that said, I think I'm going to have it installed when I get down to Quartzsite, because I can buy the kit for like $50 on Amazon. And RV Lifestyles, where I always have my maintenance and stuff done, their labor rate is a whole lot cheaper than the $200 an hour that it would have been to have it done here. So that's kind of what my plan is. And then Wanderin Joe. Wanderin Joe didn't really care a whole lot about the propane situation. He was more interested in, being able to go out and see Yellowstone. And that has certainly been a big benefit of having decided to take the camp hosting job, is that I have been able to stay out much more than I would have expected to, and see much more of Yellowstone than I otherwise would have expected to. Hey, Shalom on the Roam is in the house. Welcome in. Thank you so much for stopping by. We haven't had much of a chance to talk lately. It's been a minute, and the snow is a thing for sure. So yeah. So we've got, all of those things, and then the power challenges have just been much more difficult than I expected because of the tall trees and the time of year. Even on a fully sunny day, I'm not getting all that much sunshine because it's got to get over the trees. So I really only get sunshine when it's directly overhead. And even on sunny days, basically I'm losing about 10% per day. Let me say it differently. Normally, if I'm not surrounded by tall trees, I recharge during the day to 100%. And I go into the evening with my batteries full at 100% fully charged. And by the next morning, I might be down to like 90%. Here, let's say I start the evening fully charged, like when I come back from being out exploring. Well, by the end of the next day, instead of being fully charged, I might have only made it up to 90%, which means that when I get up the next morning, I'm down to about 80%. And unless I've got, even with full sun, I mean, I'm lucky if I can charge back up to 80%. So I'm losing about 10% a day. So the next day I might only be at 70% and then 60%. When I left on Thursday, I got up that morning, I was down to 44%. It was it was a lot of power lost. So I'm not loving the aspect of this at all. I'm really looking forward to getting back into the sun. And part of the deal is because my power has been such a challenge, normally I do most of my cooking in the air fryer and the Instant Pot. I haven't been able to use them at all the entire time that I've been here. And so if you were camping off grid, what do you think is the most difficult thing for you to manage? Is it power? Is it water? Is it propane? What do you think is most affected? What I've been discovering is water has been the least issue, although the water got turned off on September 30th, so that was the last time I filled my tank. So I had to go back to being conservative. Up until then, because I had water available whenever I wanted it, I was being totally not conservative with my water, and I've got a sewer hookup here. So I was taking long, hot showers. It was awesome. But those days are over. So when we talked about the whole sad I can imagine you were pretty freaked out at 44%. Yeah, you bet I was, Donna. I couldn't get out of here fast enough. And in fact, I had to run my generator for almost 5 hours that day, even though it was sunny while I was driving, just to be able to get back to 100% before I came back to camp. I am really looking forward to leaving. That will that'll solve all of these issues, I think. At least I hope so. So I haven't seen a whole lot of wildlife myself in camp. According to the rangers, there have not been any bear incidents in this campground. And I think part of it is because they are so strict about really paying attention to bear safety rules, putting everything in the bear box or keeping it in your vehicle. Now, this has been pretty funny. I've had a number of people who have come in from California, which is where I lived for the 30 years prior to hitting the road. And in California, you cannot keep anything with a scent in your car overnight in bear country, or unattended even in bear country, because bears will peel car doors open like a tin can. And they don't do that here. I don't understand why. I don't understand why bears don't, why having scents in an RV doesn't affect bears, but it doesn't. So that's pretty cool. So no big bear issues in camp itself. There have been a number of sightings. We had a mama grizz and two cubs that were down by the lake outside of the campground over toward the outflow area. And I guess that's one thing I haven't mentioned here. Lewis Lake itself is, the boat ramp is right just at the entrance to the campground, but Lewis Lake is not really the big attraction. It leads via a channel to Shoshone Lake, which is a much bigger lake. And that's a very popular destination for backcountry camping that is only accessible by a really long hike or by boat. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so wildlife. The only wildlife that I've seen personally is this enormous fox. Beautiful, enormous fox, actually. And he was down by the ranger station the other day when I was working, but I couldn't get a picture of him. Big bushy tail, he's really very healthy looking, he or she, I'm not sure which. And it has a collar on. It has a collar on that looks like you might put a shock collar on a dog. Apparently it's a GPS, and they monitor, the movements of certain animals. I don't know what else they're monitoring besides the fox. But it's pretty interesting to see a fox with a collar on. So that's pretty cool. I've heard elk bugling in the morning and the evening most days. It sounds like they're coming from the meadow at the far end of the walk-in loop. But I haven't actually seen any in the campground. I have seen elk outside of the campground. I've seen plenty of bison. I saw swans the other day when I was out driving around. That was cool. And ducks and... what else? I guess that's pretty much the wildlife that I've actually seen. So I'm looking forward to getting out of here. I'm heading south pretty much as quickly as I can. I'm going to go down to Southern California. I've got a friend that has a summer home that's not terribly far north, a winter home in summer temperatures that's not terribly far north of Mexico. And I know Donna knows who I'm talking about. So I'm going to go down and visit there for probably a week or so and then head over toward Arizona. I am just, I am ready for warm weather again. Really ready for sunshine. That's the really big deal as far as I'm concerned. Because the lack of sunshine is just way more difficult than I expected it to be. Hey, Dorian, good to see you here from beautiful Tampa, Florida. I'm doing really pretty well, as much as I can be under the circumstances. And one of the interesting things to me is the first step in changing anything is becoming aware of something you want to change. I didn't realize how much the tall trees were affecting me and that I was really, suffering from SAD again until I had been here for about 3.5 weeks. And then it was just like the relentless, overcast and the frequent rain and the lack of sunshine and the tall trees, all of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm doing the best that I can. And I've only got 4 more days of work starting tomorrow, and then I'm out of here on the morning of the 10th and heading south. Yeah, the wildlife has been really pretty cool, Marie. I'm really glad to have been able to see it. Dorian, I did Florida. Arnold, hello from sunny Santa Maria, California. I love Santa Maria. I lived in Tehachapi for 30 years, Arnold, so I'm really familiar with Santa Maria. It's a lovely area that I have been through a number of different times. So that's been very cool. Let's see. Oh, big topic over the previous year and a half or 2 years ish was, first of all, the fee changes for New Mexico state parks. And they had public meetings and all the stuff. And ultimately, I'm going to give you the really short version of this. It used to be that you could get a non-resident state park pass for New Mexico for $225 for a full year beginning in the calendar month in which you bought the pass. So if you bought the pass in May, let's say you bought the pass on May 3rd, it was actually good until May 31st of the following year. Now, they did away with that, $225. A non-resident pass is now $600. And they raised the camping fees as well. So it's no longer the bargain that it was. And as a result, I have not been back to New Mexico State Park since my last $225 pass expired. Well, last year, BLM kind of took off in the same direction with respect to the pass prices for the LTVAs, that's long-term visitor areas in Quartzsite. And for quite a while, they were going on about they were going to raise the fees there from $180 for the 7-month season that runs from September 15th to April 15th. So raise that from $180 to $600. And included in that pass price, you have the ability to be able to dump your tanks, get water, and drop trash at their dumpsters. The dumpsters are often full. There's often long lines to be able to dump your tanks. And the water is potable but very salty. So make sure you filter it on the way into your tank. So it's a bargain at $180, at $600. It's still kind of a bargain, but not quite as much. Well, they had public meetings and there was a lot of hue and cry. And ultimately, the BLM has not decided to raise the rates yet. You notice I didn't say they have decided not to raise the rates. They have not decided to raise the rates yet, and apparently they can still do that. But if you want to get an LTVA pass for this season that started September 15th and ends April 15th of 2026, you can still do that for $180. So we're going to wrap up here in just a couple of minutes, but let me know if you got any questions. Go ahead and pop them in the chat, and we'll see what we can get addressed before we get out of here. Arnold says, we'll be in Quartzsite in, make sure to bring you some Santa Maria seasoning for cooking. They are the best. They are the best, actually. And it's been a long time since I've seen any. And I guess that's another question that I got for you guys. I'm kind of thinking about doing like a little mini meetup kind of thing when I'm in Quartzsite this season. Is that something that would seem at all interesting that you might want to come hang out? Maybe we, meet at a restaurant or something and share a meal and get to chat in person for a little bit. Is that something that would be of any interest? And Marie says, is there any Kit Cam this morning? Well, Kit is like totally curled up next to me. I'm going to wake him up. I'm going to wake him up just for you, Marie. Come on, Kit. Your public wants to see you. I know. Can you come up here? Can you come up here? Who's a sleepy boy? He's got his paws out straight. Aw. Say hi to your people. Can you say hi to your people? I think that's about all you're going to get out of him this morning. He has shown absolutely no interest in going outside. We've been up since 5:30. I'm going to have to force him out before too long because I think he doesn't like the cold that much either. Okay, cool. So you guys would like to do that, to get together in person. I think that would be pretty cool. So I will start thinking about that. Right now, my plan is to be in Quartzsite basically from the middle of November until sometime in January. I haven't decided yet. And I will see if we can't find a time to be able to get together and be able to see each other. I think that would be super cool. Yeah, the price hikes are pretty outrageous. Fortunately, the BLM has come to their senses at this point. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention about the BLM proposed price increase, which was not obvious to a lot of people. So let me explain this because it's kind of interesting. As it stands right now, there are, I think it's a total of 7 LTVAs. There are 4 right around Quartzsite. That's La Posa South, North, West, and Tyson Wash. And then there's Midland, which is in California, Holtville, which is in California, so that's 6, and Imperial Dam, which is, I think, technically both in California, might be partially in Arizona. As part of their proposed price increase, they wanted to make the price just for the 4 LTVAs around Quartzsite $600. And they wanted to separate from the LTVA management group with California, which means that if you wanted to be able to flip around to all the different LTVAs, you would have to have 2 passes, not just 1. And at least as of last year, California was not talking about raising their prices if the Quartzsite area raised theirs. Now we woke you up and disturbed you. I'm sorry. You can go back to sleep. He's really like, we've got a blanket over us. It's cold in here because I'm trying to conserve propane. So potentially it's not just a $600 annual pass. If you want to be able to bounce around, and California didn't raise their prices, then it would be a total of $780 to get through the whole season. So that's a thing. Zena says, woof, woof. Well, unfortunately, Kit can't see Xena right now, but maybe soon. I think we might have a poker game coming up sometime soon, I think. So that'd be cool. And I guess I'll share, guys. Hope you don't care, Sue. Sue's my cousin. And I guess about 3 or 4 months ago, I joined the cousins poker game whenever I can get in there. And I got to say, I've really been enjoying the opportunity to interact with some of my cousins that really I hadn't seen for like 5 decades. So that's been a lot of fun. And I've been enjoying that quite a bit. Let's see, let me just check my notes real quick, make sure I didn't have anything else for you. As you know, when I do a live, I try and keep them to 30 to 45 minutes. So I try and be prepared for that so that I'm not going to hang you guys up for a super long time. Yeah, and we'll see what happens going forward. I mean, at this point, what we're hoping for is nothing more than smooth sailing as I move south. And, that's what I'm hoping for. And we'll pop this one up here for you. If anybody is interested, you can always buy me a coffee. So, you can join as a channel member, but that's kind of like an ongoing obligation. You don't have to continue doing it for a long period of time, but it is a monthly commitment. But to buy me a cup of coffee, literally, you can just hit the link and buy me a cup of coffee. It's one and done, no ongoing obligation. Oh, Monday for poker? Cool. I'll be there, I think. No, I probably won't be there because I got to be working. It depends on how early I can get the ranger station closed up, which also depends on how fast we run out of power. It's kind of an interesting thing. So there's that. Yeah, there's channel memberships. And I started publishing the mailing address because some people have expressed an interest in sending, postcards, kits, treats for Kit, and that kind of stuff. And I don't want to be accused of e-begging, but I want to let you know that the opportunities are there if it's something that you're interested in doing. Paula Plant is here from New Brunswick. Welcome, Paula. I hate to say this, but you're kind of a little bit late to the party today because we typically run 30 to 45 minutes, and we are working on just wrapping up now. And yeah, so I don't really have a whole lot else to say. Does anybody have any final questions before we just say goodbye? I'm waiting patiently. See y'all down the dusty BLM road. Yeah, we need to talk. I need to know what your plans are as we are moving forward, Donna, because I'd love to see you sooner rather than later. Tommy G, welcome in. And yeah, he said it perfectly. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for being here. And bye for now.